And Sean, let's move on. The next team we're taking a look at is the Miami Dolphins. Dolphin fans coming in on YouTube, hello. It is so glad to, well, I am so glad, Sean's so glad to see you. I've noticed something, by the way, and this will be the intro to this segment. I am rusty after a week and a half. After a week and a half of not doing a podcast at all, this podcast, I am extremely rusty trying to get
do you
back
feel fresh
into this seat.
Like, do you feel refreshed? Do you feel?
I do.
You feel great to be back? Like, did you miss it?
I missed it. It was nice to have a week and a half off, but like, it's like also when I drove my car, I'm like, wow, I have not driven this thing in a week and a half.
That's weird.
So let's hope I get there in one piece, and obviously I did, as you're looking at me now.
And I like that we can start off happy because this comment section is going to be fucking toxic because this team sucks.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it the way we do, and that is first to go over what they did last year, and not very good offensively. Offensive yards per game, they were 31st. 200, I'm going to round up, 290 yards per contest. Points per game, 26th, about 20 points per contest. And then defensively, 29th in yards per game, giving up 393 yards. And then 27.1 points per game given up, good for 27th. Free agency, they didn't do a lot. I mean, they bring in Eric Rowe. They bring in a former Indianapolis Colt and Patriot, Dwayne Allen.
Oh, no. Eric Rowe's a former Patriot, too.
Oh, okay.
So two of the three signings that they had were former Patriots.
They also bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick, coming over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Big signings of Brian Flores as their head coach and Chad O'Shea as their OC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just Patriots, again, just trying to make what they're, been losing to for the past 17 years.
And, of course, they made the biggest of draft day trades, getting Josh Rosen. Days. Getting Josh Rosen, the Cardinals, I still remember this because Dave and I loved him, got Andy Isabella in that trade because that's who they picked up with one of the Dolphin picks. And that's where we're going to start, Josh Rosen. If you are the Dolphins, first thing I'm going to ask you, do you start Josh Rosen day one? Is it an open battle between him and Ryan, or is Fitzpatrick the guy you go with and you ease Josh Rosen into a starting role?
Getting a guy like Josh Rosen, you'd expect them to give up a lot. So if you're giving up a ton, you'd be like, well, since you gave up that much, you have to start him. But they really didn't. They didn't give up like a huge haul to get Josh Rosen. I think in the end, Rosen will be the starting quarterback come week one. I think they'll probably have him compete. But during that competition, I think that Rosen will become clear that he should be the starting quarterback. He's smarter. He can develop, I think, well into the NFL. He showed a lot of good signs to the Cardinals last year. Clearly didn't have a great year. I think he was probably the third best quarterback out of that draft, if we're talking stats-wise. Fourth, because I think Josh Allen was better, Baker was better, and Darnold was better. I think the only one he beat was Lamar Jackson, at least stat-wise. But I think we saw a lot of decent plays from him, and he didn't have a great offensive line. He didn't have a lot of weapons. So I think that in the end, I think Rosen's potential and what he could be is going to win out and take the starting job. He should be the starter too. If I was doing it, I think you just compete just to see how he responds. But so far, he's handled himself very professionally, getting traded immediately. I really like him. He was my favorite quarterback out of the 2018 class, right? 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2018 class. He was my favorite quarterback out of that one. Shocked to see him traded so early. And I really question, how well does he have to do to become Miami's starting quarterback? Because all the talk is that, they're tanking for Tua. And if that is the case, what's going to happen to Josh Rosen? And is this a tryout just to get another haul? Because you only gave up a second-round pick, so there's no real attachment to him. I would be interested to see on what happens. I think they're going to start him just to see what he's got. Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't offer you a ton in the long term, and he's a good backup. And I think in the end, it's going to be Rosen's job to lose. I think they will have an open competition, but I think Rosen will win it. And now the question just comes down to how much can Chad O'Shea work with him and how much will he get protection from the offensive line in Miami.
I feel like I'm going to get bashed for this answer because here's what I'm thinking about in my head. Of course, start out in off-season, preseason, have it be an open competition. You know what? We've got Ryan. We've got Josh. We're not going to hand you anything. You got to earn your keep here with the Dolphins. So you want to set that mindset of like, this starting job isn't just something that we give away. You have to earn that starting job. But there's a part of me that, with Josh Rosen being a young quarterback, and I want to throw this to you to see what you think, there's almost a part of me that's like, you know what? Let me start Ryan Fitzpatrick for the first 4 games. Let him go through Baltimore, go through New England, go through Dallas, go through the Chargers. Then it gives me a reason, if we're 1-3, 0-4, hey, it ain't working out. Bye week happens week 5. Then I can start Josh Rosen week 6. He gets Washington. He gets Buffalo, which is tough defensively, but offensively, we talked about, we don't know what we're going to see from them. Pittsburgh, like, it's a little bit of a easier cushion, I believe, especially with that Washington game, rather than coming out against Baltimore, the top defense from last year. Them and Chicago were right there for top defense, with Buffalo mixed in as well. So there's a part of me that's like, hey, start Fitzpatrick first, let him eat up those tough opponents, to not and maybe this is me kind of reading into where I want to say, like, oh, don't crush the confidence of Josh Rosen. But with Josh Rosen's makeup, would he be a quarterback that, if he went 0-4 in those first 4 games, would that crush his confidence?
No, because he was losing last year. It's not like he's expecting to win. It's not like he's expecting, he's used to winning. He was on a bad team last year. If he's on another bad team, it's not going to crush his confidence. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that he is growing, and making sure that if he does make mistakes, it's not his fault. As long as he is making the right reads, he's putting his guys in the right position, and he's not making bad throws consistently, or he doesn't feel his arm talent's there. As long as he's not questioning his talent, that's fine. It doesn't matter about wins and losses. I don't think he's putting all those wins and losses on himself, because you could look at this team, and there's no talent on this team, really. I mean, Kenyon Drake's a very talented back, that's for sure. Mike Gesicki is an interesting tight end, but I don't know if he's not a finished product in any sense of the word.
Same thing with Myles Gaskin, who they picked up late rounds in this draft.
He's not an NFL back.
Well, and he's just one that he's an athlete, and I'm interested to see what he can even do for this team.
You know I'm a Husky fan. You know I love him. You know I love Myles Gaskin. He is absolutely not an NFL running back. But like, Kenyon Drake's talented. Gesicki's interesting. I want to see how he develops. Outside of that, I don't think there is talent on this offense. I mean,
your top 3 wide receivers are Parker, Kenny Stills, and Bryce Butler.
Stills is so I would throw Stills, Gesicki, and Drake. But outside of that, Parker's a head case. I don't know. I'm not too impressed by Bryce Butler. Albert Wilson had okay years in Kansas City, but I don't think he's gonna be anything special. And then Jakeem Grant had a couple catches last year, or over the past couple years,
receptions.
But he's not anything important. I really am not impressed by this team at all. And really, if Rosen has a bad year again, I don't know if it's 100% on him, because you're dealing with a guy who's calling plays for the first time in Chad O'Shea. I really think that this could be a train wreck of a team, and that's not due to Josh Rosen. And I think that Rosen, in the end, he either needs a great offensive coordinator to teach him how to play in the NFL, a better veteran quarterback to teach him how to play in the NFL, and maybe Fitzpatrick can do that. But in the end, I mean, this team, I think, will probably be in the best position to take Tua. I think they're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL, and it's just questioning of, if he does get moved again, I think that might be the biggest confidence killer. It's just like, why don't any of these teams want me? I'm young. Like, is it my talent? Is it just the position? Is it, I'm not developing enough? What am I not showing? I think that you can kill his confidence by doing that, but I don't mind them taking the shot, because if he looks good enough, they can probably get a haul from him again. I don't think Josh Rosen's on this team next year.
And like, you just put into my mind, well, actually, it was Dave that put it in my mind when Russ got traded.
Russell Westbrook.
And now you put it into my mind of basically when Russ got traded, Dave was like, yeah, it's kind of like the Fresh Prince, and it would be like this with Josh Rosen, where it's like, why don't they want me, Uncle Phil? Why don't any team want me, Uncle Phil?
Russell Wilson's an asshole.
Yeah.
Sorry, Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook is just
all the time.
Asshole to his teammates. I don't think he's an asshole in general. I think he's shown that he's a really good guy off the court. But I think as a teammate, he's probably an asshole. Yeah. And I don't think Rosen's that way. I mean, you have Larry Fitzgerald who's talking about him highly. So.
And that's why, for me, there's 2 things with this Dolphins team that if I was a fan, I would look at for this year. And like win-loss, don't even focus on it because you're not going to be a playoff team. If you focus on the wins and losses, you're just going to give yourself anxiety and be like, why the hell does my team suck? And you're just going to be sad. The two things I look at is, number one, if Rosen does win the job and starts right away or whenever he does play, how does his development look? Does he look like he's the quarterback of the future? Does he look like, yeah, you know what, we're probably going to try to move him to get... Because if he looks solid, why would you go get Tua?
Because of the control that you'll have under him, he's younger.
Yeah.
And there can be a case that he is more talented. Just due to his speed, due to his his throw.
With me, though, if Josh... It depends on how they look. If he looks like the guy, like, yes, he can be the key, then they could maybe do what I said with the Jets, where it's like, okay, someone else wants Tua. We can get future first to try to get this and try to get someone else at the top of this draft. The second thing I'm looking at is with Brian Flores coming in and him being a defensive mind, what is this defense going to do? Because I like the pickup, their first-round pickup of Christian Wilkins. Like, the guys they have on this team, Chris Harris, Raekwon McMillan, Kiko Alonso, he just needs to be healthy. Minka Fitzpatrick, or Charles Harris. Sorry, Charles Harris, not Chris Harris.
I was thinking of the defensive back. I was like, he's in Denver.
Xavier Howard, the pickup of Eric Rowe. With like these guys coming in or being on this team, I am more excited to see what does Brian Flores do with them, and what is this? Is this team? I'm not expecting them to be top of the league like what the Bears were last year defensively.
Oh, God, no.
Is this team going to be better than 29th defensively? Can they be something that I can maybe hang my hat on moving forward?
No. I'm sorry to be that blunt, but like there's two guys, three guys on this team that are good defensively. I would say Kiko's in that group.
He just needs to be healthy.
Xavier's in that group. And Minka is in that group, and Wilkins can be good, but outside of that, there's like four guys in this team that I'm like that I would want on my team, at least defensively. And the only guy that I would want offensively is Josh Rosen. I would love if he was Brady's backup. This is gonna be an absolute train wreck of a team. And Brian Flores isn't this defensive genius. He was under the defensive genius. He was under Bill Belichick. And he didn't prove much to me as a Patriot fan to be a guy that we really needed to hold on badly to. I think being in the Patriot system, I think he probably learned a lot and he was good at his job. But
so there's all this talk that like the typical Patriot assistant that leaves the nest doesn't have the success that we all thought they would have.
Especially not with this talent.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't have enough talent to even have potential success. He's set up for failure. And even with that, if he was set up for success, I don't know if he would take it and run. He's less talented and I think has less potential than Matt Patricia as a coach. Has less talent than what Matt Patricia had last year, and I don't think he's going to fire these guys up to make that next step. He's been a full defensive coordinator for a year, and I don't even think Bill gave him that full job fully last year. And it wasn't like that defense took a huge step up last year. They were great in the Super Bowl, absolutely phenomenal in the playoffs. But outside of that, like throughout that whole season, it wasn't like this was a staunch defense. I don't love the hire for Miami, and I honestly think that they are planning just to tank. And I think that's the whole idea of this season. And there are some interesting players on this team. Like Minka, like Xavier Howard, like Christian Wilkins. I'm going to be interested to see what he does, like Josh Rosen. But in the end, I don't see a way that this team wins over 3 games.
Let me throw this out there. Is he on par or better than a Steve Wilkes? And the way I say this is not his ability out there. Is this going to be a situation where, like with Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator, Cardinals bring him on, after a year, hey, this ain't working, we're going to move on after a year? Or will this be something where, all right, we weren't good, we're the first overall pick, but they stick with Brian Flores after this year? Because I think we're on the same page. I'm not expecting the Dolphins to be anything special. They are a top 5 pick in my mind. Throw them in there, they're going to be a top 5 pick.
Wouldn't be shocked if they fired him after this year. I think they're going after a quarterback if they tank. And even if they don't, if Rosen shows that much, I think if they stick with him, they're probably going to want to get a offensive mind. I mean, that's just the way the NFL is going. I just don't think that guy was out there this year. Like, who was out there? That, I mean, maybe Mike McCarthy would be the only guy, but even then, I don't think Mike McCarthy's shown that he's an offensive mind anymore.
Really,
I think
with
he's kind
the
of getting outdated.
Dolphins, there were the rumors that apparently they were looking at Rex Ryan to be one of the leading candidates.
I think they're just poorly run. I think it's all with the ownership there. I don't know Miami's plan, but I think their plan isn't for 2019, and that's why I think this team's going to be so bad. And you look at the first 4 weeks. I mean, those are all former playoff teams. They're all losing. They're going 0-4 into that bye week.
The good thing, using air quotes, is that 3 of the 4 are at home. I guess that you can kind of take solace in. But
it just sucks that you're going to lose 3 of those. You're losing 3 games at home right away.
Yeah,
it sucks. You're going to start the season off 0-3
games. Because I see this team going into the week and that's the thing where I wonder, going into the week 5 by 0-4, like how defeating that would
0-4, 3 of them at home, that's rough. And it's going to happen.
Then your other home games are Washington, New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, the Eagles, and the Bengals. So
how many wins realistically do you think they can get? Like, tell me the wins that you think they could have. Not like for sure wins. Okay.
Washington could be a win.
Agreed.
I'll give 1 against New York. Like maybe the home game against New York.
I disagree. I'll take the Jets and Buffalo.
I don't even I almost said the Bills, but I think the Bills sweep them this year. And then maybe Cincinnati and maybe the Jets. So 3-4 wins is what I'm looking at.
I said 3-2, and I think it's the Redskins. If they beat the Jets once, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think highly of the Jets this year, or at least higher than the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think the Giants and the Bengals. I think they have 3 possible wins. If they go 1-15, I will not be shocked.
Wow.
It's just I don't think the talent's there. I don't think this is an NFL team.
You said 1-15 or 0-16?
1-15.
Okay.
I think they're not that bad.
They're not 0-16.
I don't think the ownership would mind if they're that bad. It's weird because they just built a new stadium. They want to fill it, but I don't understand the moves. Like, they made 3 off-season signings. Yeah. Like, that's a sign of they're not even trying going into the season. Like, what the fuck are they doing? And I don't think they thought out the Brian Flores hire. Chad O'Shea's never called a play in his life. He wasn't even the offensive coordinator in New England, and
so
he's been a wide receiver
setting
coach.
themselves up to fail. Wink, wink. Tank for Tua.
Yeah, it's tank for Tua. That's all I think this is. And maybe if it's not tank for Tua, they're putting themselves in a position to have the number 1 spot and just be able to take assets and move around. I don't think that this is a team that's going to be good at all. I hate to be this abrupt and this kind of mean to the Miami Dolphins, and it's not anything due to their fans. I mean, like, the fans show up when they're good, and when they're not, they don't show up, which is fair.
I'm gonna say this, and Dolphin fans, this is a conversation. First off, talk with us in the comments.
It probably doesn't feel like a conversation when we're just like, we're saying shit.
Well, and here's the thing, and I totally agree with Peyton Manning when he said this. When I watched one of his, what do they call it on ESPN Plus? What does Kobe Bryant do? What do they call his
spotlight? No. It begins with a D.
Whatever it is. Decision, whatever it is.
Not decision.
Peyton Manning did one where he looked at he was looking at Matthew Stafford, and he went on a little rant because he's like, yeah, like last week in detail.
There it is.
When he's like, look, last week in Miami, the Bears played there, and he goes, there were more Bears fans there than Miami fans. It's like, you can't, why have that? Why have the enemy fans come into your stadium and basically make it your own? And I feel like that could be this year, where if I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, I'll be completely honest. Even if I'm a diehard, this year, if I had season tickets, I might pick a game or 2, maybe 3 games to go to. But, especially those first 3, I'm just selling them, see what I can get for them, because why would I waste a Sunday going out there? And I know Miami's nice weather, so it's a little bit different than here in Chicago. Like, we get into December, and it's like, geez, it's fucking cold. Why do I want to sit outside? I'll watch it on TV. But, those first 3 home games, instead of sitting there for 3 hours and a loss, I'll sell it, make some money.
The thing, too, is, you look at their season last year, and you're like, well, they had 6 wins. Why are they going to drop off so much? They won the first 3 games right off the bat against the Titans by 7.
Yep.
Jets by 8, and then the Raiders by 8. So, I mean, they played 3 close games. They played a bad Raiders team. They beat the Jets by a possession pretty much.
All their wins were close.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they shouldn't even won that Bears game. Cody Parkey missed a 50-yard field goal, but even then the Bears pissed that game away.
Well, that kick return that went for a touchdown. Or punt return, one of them or it went so long to where it put Brock the Cock in great field position for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, that was in that game.
Was it? I don't even remember who that was.
Okay.
It
was like
no, I remember.
It was an insane. I thought it went for a touchdown, but it was like it's an insane. I remember laughing.
It was
because
like
I'm like the Bears are gonna piss this away.
The Bears scored. They put them up 7, and then they had that return like right away. I know what you're talking about now. And then the Jets, it was a 7-point victory. The Bills, it was a 4-point victory. The Dolphins won by 1 against the Patriots. Like they were never. I never thought of them. Like they weren't the best team on the field against the Patriots that in Week 14. They weren't the best team in the field against the Bears in Week 6.
But when they lost, they lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that you're going to see the ball bounce the other way this year. I think this team's not going to be that good. And I think you have a less experienced quarterback out there with less weapons. And I think that in the end, it's going to be a shit show.
And
this isn't just backed up by like me being a Patriot fan. Like PFF ranked this team as the 31st worst pass rush team and the 29th worst run defense team. And you have inexperienced coaching. You have guys that were coming from a system where it was all about doing your job, and their jobs weren't even the jobs that they currently have. Like Brian Flores wasn't even a defensive coordinator, and now he is the head coach. So now he has to learn how to run the whole team. And Chad O'Shea was just running the wide receivers, and now he has to learn to run the whole offense. I think this is just a bad marriage right now, and I don't really think this team is going to have much success.
Well, and kind of in closing for me, the thing that I kind of think is, like I said, the two things I'm looking for: how does Josh Rosen develop this year? How does this defense look with what you have with Brian Flores? The only thing I pray that Miami does not do is learn from the mistakes that your Floridan brother made last year. Do not, and I mean do not, play Fitzpatrick for 2 games. Pull him, then play Rosen for 2 games. Then pull Rosen and play Fitzpatrick, and then pull him, and don't do it. It didn't work with Fitzpatrick and Winston. It's not going to work with you. Either stick with Fitzpatrick early in the year because you think he'll win you games, or go with Rosen because you're like, hey, we might not win a lot of games, but we're going to develop this quarterback. Stick with one of them and let them go. But at the same time, if you go at Fitzpatrick, I'm almost certain that Rosen comes in at some point. Just don't do this hot potato, cold potato where you're pulling them and none of them can really get a rhythm going when you do that. So this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section. Dolphins fans, we want to hear from you because, like Sean said, I hate when they're like so negative, but it's like this is one where this team, I really can't see them being a good team, and I don't know that it's going to be a great year for the Dolphins in 2019.